Most engines never make it past 150,000 miles, not because they're poorly built, but because their owners unknowingly kill them mile by mile. Tiny mistakes, skipping a simple oil check, using bargain bin parts, or ignoring faint warning signs, can shave years off your engine's life. If you think your car is safe because it starts every morning, think again. Damage builds silently, and by the time you see smoke or hear knocking, it's already too late. In this video, I'll break down 10 engine care habits that will not only save you thousands in repairs, but can keep your engine running smooth for over 400,000 miles. Stick with me, because one of these habits could mean the difference between driving your car for decades or watching it die before 60,000 miles. Number 1. Engine oil and filter maintenance. If there's one thing that will decide whether your engine sees 400,000 miles or dies before 60,000, it's oil maintenance. Oil is the lifeblood of your engine, reducing friction, cooling components, and carrying away microscopic debris that would otherwise grind your engine down. Ignore it, and even the toughest engine will start knocking, burning oil, and eventually seizing. If you ever see metallic glitter in your oil, hear loud ticking or knocking, or notice the oil pressure light flickering, stop driving immediately. Those are catastrophic red flags. Here's how to diagnose and service your oil step by step. Check oil level and quality. Park on level ground, pull and wipe the dipstick, reinsert, and check. If low or dirty, it's time to change. The oil should be between the marks and look amber or dark brown, but not like sludge or tar. Low oil or dark sludge means it's time for a change. You can check the oil pressure using a gauge. Inspect for leaks around the oil pan, valve covers, and front and rear main seals. If you smell fuel or coolant in it, that's another sign of deeper trouble. To change oil, shut off the engine and let it cool for 10 to 15 minutes. Gather supplies: a drain pan, funnel, new filter, crush washer, correct oil, gloves, and wrenches. Locate the oil drain plug and filter. Check your owner's manual if you're unsure. Position the drain pan under the plug and remove the plug carefully. Allow oil to drain fully for several minutes. Replace the crush washer and tighten the plug snugly. Unscrew the old filter, lightly oil the gasket on the new one, and install it hand tight. Some cars use a spin-on canister filter, while others use a cartridge filter inside a reusable housing. Always lubricate the new O-ring with fresh oil before tightening to prevent leaks and ensure easy removal later. Refill and check. Pour in the recommended oil slowly. Match oil viscosity to your climate and driving style. For example, a 5W30 synthetic is common for modern gas engines, but some turbocharged setups may need a 0W40. Recheck the dipstick to ensure proper level. Start the engine, let it idle for 30 seconds, then check for leaks under the car. Recheck oil after a short drive. Smooth operation is a sign you did it right. Change oil every 5,000 miles or 6 months for synthetic blends, but shorten that interval if you tow, idle a lot, or run turbos. Expect to pay $35 to $70 for DIY synthetic oil changes, while a shop will charge $80 to $150. Number 2. Throttle and MAF sensor cleaning. Your throttle body is the gatekeeper of airflow into your engine, and over time it collects carbon that chokes performance. A dirty throttle makes the car hesitate, idle rough, or even stall when you come to a stop. If your check engine light throws codes like P2111 or P0121, or if you have erratic idle after a cold start, that's your cue to inspect it. Don't ignore throttle position sensor issues. They can leave you in limp mode, crawling home at 20 miles per hour. Start your diagnosis by scanning for throttle-related codes. Even a $20 Bluetooth OBD2 scanner will tell you if your throttle position sensor is out of range. If your car has an idle air control valve, remove it and check for carbon buildup. Finally, pop off the intake boot and use a flashlight to peer inside. If you see thick black gunk caked around the butterfly plate, that's your smoking gun. Now it's time for a deep clean, and this is where many beginners make mistakes. So let's go step by step. Lay out a clean rag, a can of throttle body cleaner, and a small flathead screwdriver to loosen hose clamps if needed. Start by disconnecting the negative battery cable to prevent the electronic throttle from cycling while you work. Loosen the hose clamps on your air intake tube and gently slide it off the throttle body. Spray a light mist of cleaner inside and let it sit for 30 seconds to soften the carbon. For cable-driven throttles, use your hand to push the throttle plate open, then gently wipe the edges and bore with a lint-free rag. For electronic throttles, do not force the plate open with your hand. Keep cleaning and wiping until every surface is shiny metal again. Once clean, tighten all clamps and reconnect the battery. Many modern cars will now need a throttle relearn. A basic method is to turn the ignition on for 10 seconds, then off for 10 seconds, repeating this 3 times before starting the engine. Others relearn idle. If you turn on the ignition with engine off, press the gas pedal fully for a few seconds, release and wait. Some cars require a scan tool for relearn, so check your manual. Start the engine and let it idle for a few minutes without touching the gas pedal. The idle should settle smoothly. If it's still hunting, the relearn didn't take, and you'll need to repeat it. A quality throttle body cleaner costs around $6, and most throttle bodies cost $200 to $500 if replacement is needed. Cleaning every 30,000 miles is ideal, but shorten that interval if you idle a lot or have direct injection, which accelerates carbon buildup. While you're here, spray clean the mass airflow sensor using MAF-specific cleaner and inspect all vacuum hoses for cracks. After this service, the difference is obvious. You'll feel crisp throttle response and hear a steady, confident idle that tells you your engine is breathing freely again. Number 3. Air filter. Your engine inhales over 10,000 gallons of air for every gallon of fuel burned, and a clogged air filter is like trying to breathe through a wet rag. Symptoms include sluggish acceleration, poor fuel economy, and a growl from the intake. If your car struggles to hit its usual RPM, or if you see black smoke from the exhaust, stop driving until you inspect it. Here's how to diagnose and replace your air filter step by step. Start by parking on a flat surface, shutting off the engine, and setting the parking brake. Pop the hood and locate your air box. It's usually a black plastic box near the front or side of the engine bay with a large intake hose leading to the throttle body. Check your owner's manual if you're unsure. Inspect the housing for debris or nesting material before opening it. Most airboxes are secured with metal clips or Phillips screws. Undo these carefully and keep them in a safe spot. Gently lift the cover and take out the filter. Hold it up to a bright light. If you can't see light through the pleats or if it's visibly gray or coated in dirt, replace it. To be thorough, you can also scan live airflow data with an OBD2 tool. A restricted filter shows lower grams per second of airflow at wide open throttle. While the filter is out, inspect the inside of the air box with a flashlight. Look for oil residue, rodent droppings, or any sign of moisture, as these indicate other engine issues. Now let's replace it like a pro. Grab your new filter and double-check that it matches the old one in shape and size. Most filters have an airflow direction arrow. This should face the engine, not the front of the car. Slide the filter into place, ensuring every corner is properly seated. Carefully lower the airbox lid, making sure no part of the filter gasket gets pinched. Then fasten the clips or screws evenly. Reattach any disconnected hoses and double-check that everything is secure before closing the hood. After installation, start the engine and let it idle for 30 seconds. Listen for a smooth, consistent idle with no whistling or sucking noises. This confirms the housing is sealed correctly. Stick to OEM paper filters for daily driving. Reusable high-flow filters are fine if you're willing to clean and oil them precisely. Replace the filter every 15,000 to 20,000 miles, or 10,000 miles if you drive in dusty conditions. Expect to pay $15 to $30 for most filters, making this one of the cheapest but most effective maintenance jobs you can do. Number 4. Fuel system care. Fuel isn't just what makes your car run. It also cools and lubricates the injectors and the high-pressure fuel pump. When things go wrong here, you'll know it. Dirty injectors, varnished intake valves, or clogged filters will leave you with misfires, hesitation, or painfully slow starts. If you hear the fuel pump whining loudly, smell raw gasoline, or your engine struggles to accelerate, those are warning signs you don't want to ignore. For a quick confidence check, simply turn your key to the on position without starting the engine. You should hear a soft hum or buzz from the rear. That's your pump priming. No sound could mean a dead pump. Also, take a flashlight and see under the car near the tank and lines for wet spots or drips. Even a faint gas smell inside the cabin means you need a closer look. To go deeper into diagnosis, start simple and move step by step. First, scan the car with an OBD2 scanner and look for codes like P0171, which means it's running lean, or P0300, which signals random misfires. If you find these, move on to a fuel pressure test. Locate the Schrader valve on the fuel rail, connect a fuel pressure gauge, and turn the key on. Most modern gas engines should read between 50 to 60 psi. If the pressure is low, pinch the return line briefly. If the pressure rises, the regulator is bad. If it stays low, suspect a weak pump or a clogged filter. Next, test the injectors using a balance test. With a scan tool or special tester, fire each injector one by one and watch how much the pressure drops. If one cylinder barely changes, that injector isn't flowing properly. Finally, check your long-term and short-term fuel trims on a scan tool. If they're consistently above plus 10%, the engine is starving for fuel. Once you've confirmed the problem, here's how to service the system safely. Start with a simple cleaning. Pour a high-quality fuel injector cleaner into a nearly empty tank, then fill it with top-tier gasoline. Drive normally so the additive can work through the system. If your car has a replaceable inline fuel filter, relieve pressure by pulling the fuel pump fuse and cranking the engine until it stalls. Put on safety glasses, unclip the old filter, and catch any spilling gas in a container. Install the new filter in the same direction as the flow arrow. If you're dealing with dirty injectors beyond what a cleaner can fix, remove the fuel rail, unscrew the hold downs, and pull the injectors straight out. Replace the O-rings with new ones, lightly coat them with oil, and press the injectors back and evenly. Reassemble everything carefully and double-check connections. When you start the engine, it may stumble for a few seconds while the rail reprimes, then it should smooth out. Avoid common mistakes like mixing bargain bin additives that promise instant cleaning, but actually eat away rubber seals, or forcing connectors and cracking brittle plastic clips on the fuel line. Stick to OEM injectors when replacing them. Aftermarket high-flow units often don't match the spray pattern your engine was designed for. Fuel filters typically last 30,000 to 60,000 miles, and injectors can last well past 100,000 if you keep up on fuel quality. Expect to spend $10 to $25 for a bottle of cleaner, $20 to $60 for a filter, and about $200 to $500 if you need professional injector service. If you're already under the hood, pair this with checking your spark plugs and coils, since fuel and ignition problems often look the same. After the job, you'll notice smoother cold starts, quicker throttle response, and if you did it right, your engine note will sound tighter and more even than before. Number 5. Cooling system care. Your engine operates at temperatures well over 200 degrees Fahrenheit every time you drive, and the cooling system is the only thing preventing catastrophic damage. When it's neglected, heat builds up until head gaskets fail, cylinder heads warp, or the engine block itself cracks. If you ever see white smoke pouring from the exhaust, coolant puddles forming under your vehicle, or the temperature gauge climbing rapidly, stop driving immediately. These are signs that your cooling system is in serious trouble. A quick driveway inspection starts by opening the hood, locating the coolant reservoir, and checking the level against the min and max marks. The fluid should look bright green, orange, or pink depending on your vehicle, not rusty brown or sludgy. Lightly squeeze the upper radiator hose when the engine is cool. It should feel firm, not soft or spongy, which could mean it's deteriorating. Here's how to diagnose your cooling system step by step. Start with the engine completely cool to avoid burns. Open the radiator cap slowly to release pressure, then check for any oily film or bubbles in the coolant. This can indicate a head gasket leak. Next, attach a cooling system pressure tester, which is available at most auto parts stores, and pump it up to the rating listed on your radiator cap, usually around 15 psi. Watch the gauge for 5 minutes. If the pressure drops, you have a leak, so carefully inspect hoses, clamps, and the radiator for wet spots. If you see white crusty residue, that's dried coolant marking the source of the leak. Use a coolant hydrometer or refractometer to check the mixture. A healthy mix should protect down to minus 34 degrees Fahrenheit. If your car's temperature gauge fluctuates during a drive, scan the car's live data using an OBD2 scanner. Watch for the thermostat opening at the correct temperature, usually between 180 degrees Fahrenheit and 195 degrees Fahrenheit, and verify the radiator fan activates when the engine warms up. Now let's flush and refill your cooling system properly. Begin by placing a large drain pan under the radiator drain plug or lower radiator hose, and open it to let all old coolant flow out. Once it's empty, close the drain and pour in distilled water through the radiator or reservoir. Then start the engine and let it run for 10 minutes with the heater on full blast to flush out any remaining debris. Shut the engine off, let it cool, and drain again. Repeat this process until the water runs clear. Close the drain and prepare a fresh coolant mix, usually a 50-50 blend of antifreeze and distilled water, unless your manufacturer specifies a premix. Slowly pour it into the radiator or reservoir, filling until it reaches the max line. Start the engine with the cap off and let it idle to burp out trapped air. You'll see bubbles escaping as it warms up. Keep adding coolant until the level stabilizes, then replace the cap securely. After a short drive, check the level again and top off if needed. Always use OEM coolant or a top-tier equivalent. Check your owner's manual for exact service intervals, but most vehicles need a flush every 50,000 miles or 5 years. Budget about $50 for DIY supplies, coolant, distilled water, and a drain pan. A professional shop service will typically cost between $150 and $300. Pair this job with inspecting your serpentine belt and water pump, as both are critical to circulation. To confirm your work, let the car idle until the fan cycles on and off. Then verify the temperature gauge stays steady at normal operating range during a test drive. A properly maintained cooling system means your engine can run hard for hundreds of thousands of miles without breaking a sweat. Number 6. Timing system service. Your engine's timing system is the brain of its operation, keeping valves and pistons in perfect sync at thousands of RPM. A failing timing belt or chain doesn't just cause a stall, it can destroy an engine in a fraction of a second. If you hear a ticking or slapping noise from the timing cover, notice difficulty starting, or see metal shavings in the oil, those are early warnings you can't ignore. Here's how to diagnose and service your timing system step by step. Start with a cold engine and park on level ground with the parking brake set. Disconnect the negative battery cable so you don't accidentally crank the motor while working. Gather your tools. If your car uses a timing belt, also grab a new water pump. These are usually replaced together since the pump is buried in the same area. Remove any components blocking access, like the engine cover, accessory belts, or radiator fan. Use a jack and wood block to support the engine if you need to remove a motor mount to reach the timing cover. Drain the coolant if your water pump sits behind the cover. Carefully remove the timing cover bolts and set the cover aside. Rotate the crankshaft clockwise with a breaker bar until the timing marks on the crank pulley and cam gears align with the reference marks on the block and head. This ensures the engine is locked in the correct position before disassembly. With the marks aligned, relieve tension from the belt and slip the belt off the cam and crank gears. Remove the old tensioner, guides, and water pump if applicable. Clean all gasket surfaces thoroughly with a plastic scraper and wipe with brake cleaner to ensure a proper seal. Install the new components in reverse order. Start with the water pump and gaskets, then the tensioner and guides, and finally the new belt. Route it carefully around each pulley in the correct sequence, keeping it taut on the non-tensioned side. Double-check that the timing marks on the cam and crank are still perfectly aligned before releasing the tensioner. Once tension is applied, rotate the crankshaft 2 full turns clockwise by hand and recheck the marks. If they line up perfectly, you've nailed it. If they're off, remove the belt or chain and correct the alignment. Being one tooth off can wreck the engine when it fires. Reinstall the timing cover with a fresh gasket, torque all bolts to spec, and reassemble the accessories and motor mount. Refill coolant if drained. Reconnect the battery and start the engine. Listen carefully. Your idle should be smooth, with no rattling or slapping from the front of the engine. Watch for leaks around the timing cover and water pump. A short road test should feel crisp, with no hesitation or misfire. Done right, you've just extended your engine's life by tens of thousands of miles. Always use OEM belts or chains, quality hydraulic tensioners, and cam seals. Most timing belts should be replaced every 60,000 to 100,000 miles. You should replace a timing chain only when it is worn or malfunctioning, as it is generally designed to last the lifetime of the engine and is not a routine maintenance item like a timing belt. Signs that a timing chain needs attention include a rattling or rough engine sound, engine misfires, lack of power, metal shavings in the oil, or a stretched chain. Number 7. Ignition system maintenance. Think of your ignition system as the spark of life. Without it, even the most finely tuned engine is just a heavy paperweight. Misfires, sluggish acceleration, and poor fuel economy often point to worn plugs, failing coils, or weak spark plug wires. One big red flag is when you feel a consistent shake at idle or see a flashing check engine light under load. Pop the hood, and you might see arcing or hear a faint clicking around the ignition coils in the dark. Here's how to diagnose your ignition system step by step. Start with the basics. Turn off the engine, let it cool, and remove the plastic engine cover if fitted. First, inspect the spark plugs. Pull one using a spark plug socket and extension. A healthy plug should be light tan on the tip. If it's black and sooty, the engine is running rich. If it's white and chalky, it's running lean. Oily plugs often mean deeper engine issues, but they still tell you the ignition isn't firing clean. Next, check the spark plug wires or coil boots for cracks or burn marks. Anything that looks brittle means spark is leaking out instead of reaching the cylinder. After that, reconnect your battery and plug in a basic OBD2 scanner. Read any stored codes. A P0301 means a misfire on cylinder 1, P0302 on cylinder 2, and so on. To confirm, swap the coil from that cylinder to another one. Clear the code, run the engine, and see if the misfire moves. If it does, the coil is your problem. For a deeper test, use a spark tester tool. Plug it into the coil or wire, start the engine, and watch for a strong, bright blue spark. A weak orange spark means the ignition component is failing. If you have access to a multimeter, measure coil resistance against factory specs. Anything far outside range confirms the fault. Always check the gap on new plugs with a feeler gauge and adjust to spec. Apply a tiny dab of anti-seize on the threads, but keep it away from the electrode. Thread each plug by hand to avoid cross-threading, then torque to the correct spec with a torque wrench. Too loose can blow out a plug, too tight can crack the cylinder head. Before reinstalling the coil, apply a thin film of dielectric grease inside the boot. This keeps out moisture and makes future removal easier. Reinstall the coil, tighten the bolt snugly, and reconnect the harness until it clicks. Repeat for every cylinder, working methodically. When all plugs and coils are back in place, reconnect the battery. Start the engine and listen. It should idle smoothly without vibration, and throttle response should feel instant. Stick to OEM or high-quality aftermarket components. Copper plugs are cheaper but wear fast, while iridium or platinum plugs can last 100,000 miles. Expect to spend $100 to $500 depending on the car. Check ignition health every oil change by scanning for hidden misfires and monitoring idle smoothness. Number 8. Battery and electrical health. A healthy battery isn't just about starting your car. It's the backbone of every electrical component, from fuel pumps to engine sensors. A weak battery shows up as slow cranking, dim headlights, or random warning lights. And if you see green fuzz around terminals or smell sulfur, it's already screaming for attention. A simple visual check reveals most problems. Corrosion, loose clamps, and bulging cases are dead giveaways. Here's how to diagnose your battery step by step. First, make sure the engine is off, the key is out, and all accessories are turned off. Set your multimeter to DC volts. Touch the red probe to the positive terminal and the black probe to the negative. A healthy, fully charged battery should read about 12.6 volt. And anything under 12.0 volt means it's deeply discharged and may already be damaged. Next, perform a cranking test. Have someone start the engine while you keep the multimeter connected. During cranking, the voltage should not drop below 10 volt. If it dips into the 9s, the battery is weak. After the engine starts, check charging voltage at idle. A properly working alternator will show 13.5 to 14.5 volt. Now turn on headlights, AC, and rear defroster all at once. Your voltage should remain in that range. If it drops sharply, the alternator or charging system is struggling, not just the battery. Here's how to service your battery step by step. Start by disconnecting the negative terminal first to prevent accidental short circuits, then disconnect the positive. If there's heavy corrosion, mix baking soda with warm water and scrub the terminals with an old toothbrush until clean. Dry thoroughly, then coat with a thin layer of petroleum jelly or use a dedicated battery terminal protector spray to stop future buildup. Inspect the clamps for cracks or looseness. Replace them if they don't grip tightly. If the battery case is swollen, leaking, or has a strong rotten egg smell, do not attempt to service it. Replace it immediately. When reinstalling, connect the positive cable first, then the negative. Tighten each clamp snugly, but don't over-tighten to the point of cracking the post. For cars with vented batteries, Make sure the vent tube is securely attached so gases escape safely. If your vehicle uses an AGM battery, handle it carefully. Don't overcharge it, and always use a smart charger rated for AGM. Number 9. PCV service. Your PCV quietly protect your engine from sludge and pressure buildup while keeping harmful gases out of the atmosphere. A clogged PCV valve can cause oil leaks, whistling noises, or even rough idling. Excessive oil consumption or smoke from the exhaust is a major red flag here. You can do a quick check by pulling the dipstick at idle. If you feel strong suction or pressure puffing out, your crankcase ventilation isn't working right. Here's how to diagnose your PCV and emissions system step by step. Start with the basics: engine off, hood up. Locate the PCV valve. It's usually a small plug-like valve that connects to a hose on the valve cover or intake manifold. Disconnect it carefully and shake it. A healthy valve rattles freely. If it's silent or stuck, it's bad. With the engine running at idle, place your finger over the end of the hose. You should feel steady vacuum suction. No suction or excessive pressure means the system is clogged or leaking. Next, trace all vacuum and breather hoses. Look for cracks, oil saturation, or loose fittings. If you have carb cleaner or brake cleaner, lightly spray it around the hose connections while the engine idles. If RPM suddenly rises, you've found a vacuum leak. For a deeper check, plug in an OBD2 scanner. Look at short-term fuel trims. If one bank is running more than plus 10% rich, unmetered air from a PCV leak is likely the cause. Advanced mechanics use smoke machines, but even without one, you can rig a simple test by blowing low-pressure air with visible vapor, like incense or a vape pen, into the system and watching for leaks. Before installing the new one, check the grommet. It often hardens and cracks, so replace it if necessary. Push the new valve in until it's snug, then reconnect the hose firmly. If any hoses are brittle or swollen, cut a new length of high-temp silicone hose and secure it with proper clamps. For emissions-related vacuum hoses leading to the intake, always make sure routing matches factory diagrams. Cross lines can throw multiple check engine codes. Idle should now be smooth and steady. To confirm the repair, pull the dipstick again. This time, suction should feel steady and not overly strong. A quick throttle blip should give clean response without hesitation. Replacing a PCV valve is cheap and easy, but many drivers ignore it for 100,000 miles or more, leading to gummed-up intakes and failed seals. Stick to OEM valves and high-temp silicone hoses when replacing components. Costs are minimal, typically $20 to $100, but ignoring the system can lead to thousands in repairs if sludge damages the engine. A healthy system is easy to spot. A quick rev after cleaning should feel smoother and eliminate idle hunting almost instantly. Number 10. Software updates for ECU, TCM, and TSBs. This one's overlooked, but staying on top of updates can save your engine from catastrophic failure. Manufacturers often release ECU and TCM updates that fix hidden bugs like fuel trim errors, transmission shift delays, or even incorrect fan cycling. You won't see a flashing check engine light for these issues, but scan your car with an advanced OBD2 tool and check for pending trouble codes or TSBs. Many automakers push updates for free, especially when tied to emissions or drivability. The mistake most owners make is assuming no codes mean no problems. Updates often improve injector pulse timing, idle stability, and knock sensor sensitivity. Start with a reliable OBD2 scanner that can access manufacturer-specific modules, not just generic codes, and run a full system scan. Don't just look for active codes. Check for pending codes or history logs that indicate intermittent problems. The ECU or TCM may be running outdated logic. Next, search online databases like the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration or your automaker's official service site for TSBs. These bulletins list known software flaws and the update versions that fix them. Cross-reference your VIN with the bulletin. If your car matches, that's confirmation you need a reflash. If you're a DIY beginner, the safest path is to let a dealer or certified shop handle the update, since they have factory software and secure connections. But knowing how the process works helps you understand what's being done. Once complete, start the engine and let it idle for a few minutes. It may run rough initially as the ECU relearns. Take a short drive cycle with varied speeds and confirm smoother shifting, stable idle, or restored throttle response. Set a reminder to check for TSBs twice a year, and visit a dealer or trusted shop with factory-level diagnostic tools for flashing. A simple reflash costs between $80 and $200, but catching it early can save a $4,000 catalytic converter or a transmission rebuild. Some automakers even tweak throttle mapping in updates, meaning your car might feel brand new without a single part replaced.